You've probably heard people throw around the words macroeconomics and microeconomics before. Maybe you've heard these terms being used in the news, maybe in a class that you've taken. But what do they actually mean? And why do economists split their study of the world into two like this? Today, let's break them down and see how both of these perspectives help us make sense of the world. We will start in part 1 by looking at a brief overview of the two terms, before in part 2 asking why they are useful for understanding the broader economy, before in part 3 looking at some criticisms and ways of better combining both of them. But before we start, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss a new upload. Let's start simple. Microeconomics looks at the small picture, the behaviour of individuals, households and businesses. It's about choices, what people decide to buy, what businesses sell and for what price. It is thus heavily focused on supply and demand, the day-to-day of businesses and individuals. It's about you, staring at the price of milk in the supermarket, working out whether you want to pay that or if you want to switch to a different brand or supermarket. It's a bottom-up way of looking at the economy. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, zooms way out. It looks at the bigger picture, how the whole economy behaves and what governments can do to affect this bigger picture. It's about things like unemployment, inflation, GDP, and interest rates. It's thus top-down, and there are different macroeconomic theories suggesting that governments should do different things to help their country. An example here might be useful. Micro is like studying the players on a soccer pitch, their fitness before the match, how long they stay on the pitch, how many goals or assists they make, and how they can improve for the next game. Macro is like analysing the game itself, the result, the scoreline, and the effect of this result on the team's placement in the league table or tournament. Microeconomics studies markets, the little ecosystems where supply meets demand. It's useful because it helps us to answer questions such as, why does your favourite coffee shop charge $3 for a latte? Why do you agree to pay this price? How many lattes does the coffee shop need to sell to break even or make a profit? Economists can use the answers to these questions to build models of individual behaviour, assuming of course that people and businesses act rationally, trying to maximise their benefits whilst minimising their costs. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, studies aggregates. That means combining all these individual behaviour models into national and global trends. This is useful because it helps us to understand questions such as, what happens to unemployment when interest rates go up? What does a government do if inflation gets out of hand? How do recessions start and how can we end them? Macroeconomics can thus help policymakers respond to big crises like pandemics, recessions, or inflation spikes. Macroeconomics often gets more political because it involves subjective choices about how to run a whole country's economy. It's not as black and white as microeconomic rules such as supply and demand. In fact, macroeconomics as a distinct field only really took off after the Great Depression in the 1930s. The Great Depression was so long and deep that the rules of microeconomics, which assumed that the world would return to normal and unemployment decrease after a short while, could not explain it. One key issue during this time that microeconomics could not explain was something that economist John Maynard Keynes called the paradox of thrift. During the Great Depression, many people saved, which from a microeconomic perspective was rational during these uncertain times. However, as Keynes argued, if everyone saves, overall demand in the economy collapses. Nobody goes to the coffee shop or cinema because all of their money is being saved in the bank. This hurts those businesses. Keynes's theory highlighted how supposedly rational individual microeconomic decisions can actually cause broader economic harm, and demonstrated that a solely microeconomic analysis was incomplete. Keynes argued that beyond the everyday individual supply and demand decisions of individuals and businesses, systematic factors should be analysed, such as the aggregate level of spending by the government and businesses. His ideas and belief in higher government spending during a recession transformed how countries responded to economic crises, laying the groundwork for what we now call macroeconomics. Together, micro and macroeconomics form the backbone of economics. You can't run a business without understanding microeconomics, and you can't run a country without understanding macroeconomics. The two halves of economics struggle with prediction. When it comes to macroeconomics, it's very hard to accurately predict the economic future of an entire country, let alone a global economy. As well as this, macroeconomics is more controversial. Different schools of thought disagree about what effect what policy will have. Keynesians, monetarists, supply-siders, economists often argue about what the data means and what policy to take. Microeconomics, meanwhile, often assumes that people and businesses are rational and operate in their own self-interest. But this can miss emotional or social factors explaining why individuals or businesses choose to buy or sell a certain thing. If a banking chain tomorrow decided to give 20% of its profits to charity, would microeconomics predict this or be able to explain it? Unlikely. Macroeconomics and microeconomics are also deeply interconnected and shouldn't be treated in isolation. Returning to my coffee example, let's say there's a drought in Brazil, one of the world's largest coffee producers, which then causes a reduction in the overall supply of coffee beans. That's a macroeconomic event which affects the international trade of coffee and causes the global price of coffee beans to increase. A local coffee shop, facing higher bean prices from suppliers, might respond by raising its prices or reducing the number of staff. That's a microeconomic decision rooted in the business's day-to-day operations and interactions with individual customers. In turn, these customers may buy less coffee or switch to alternatives, affecting the shop's revenue. This example shows how macro-level shifts, like global supply shocks, directly shape micro-level decisions and vice versa. So, macroeconomics versus microeconomics. Two lenses, one economy. One helps you decide how many staff to hire for your cafe in response to consumer trends in your area. The other helps governments steer the whole economy to avoid a downturn where cafes across the country are closing. Let me know in the comments section what you think about all of this. And if you found this helpful, subscribe and click the bell so that you never miss a new upload. Thank you for watching.